Trump campaign is now reaching voters online.
You are seeing the President of the United States. Look at the lines.
You join our movement.
A lot of President Trump supporters here.
Greatest movement in the history of our country. I'm fighting for you, and I love doing it with everything that I have. And I will never, ever stop. We are one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. We will make America great again.
Welcome to Team Trump Online.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Latinos for Trump Online. I'm Kimberly Guilfoyle, Senior Advisor and National Chair of the Trump Victory Finance Committee. Along with me tonight are some of the best and brightest and most dedicated voices in politics. Betty Cardenas, a member of the Latinos for Trump Advisory Board, Matt Gomez, a member of Latinos for Trump Advisory Board, and former Lieutenant Governor of the great state of New Mexico, John Sanchez. Now, since taking office, President Trump has been a champion for millions of Latinos that make our country so great. And tonight, in celebration of Cinco de Mayo, we want to recognize the great contribution and achievements made by Mexican Americans. We have a great show ahead, so let's get it started. I want to begin by recognizing that Joe Biden, Sleepy Joe, is going to make his pitch to the Latino community. Now, why is Biden the wrong choice for America? And why do you support President Trump? So, Matt, let's start with you.
Well, I support President Trump because he supports us and he supports most Americans. Latinos are waking up. You know, we're realizing that our conservative values are being honored. We're being treated with respect. And our predominantly Christian faith is being very secured by President Trump and his administration.
Fantastic. And Betty?
Yes. One, that Biden is not a fit candidate for America. What he has done, let us not forget that for the Hispanic community, what the Obama-Biden administration did, putting these kids in cages, and also what happened in the Middle East with the crime wars and everything with ISIS, and also empowered the enemies of Israel. I mean, this would be catastrophic, not only for the Hispanic community, but for America and the world. President Trump has been able to come and he has been able to fix the alliance with Israel. He has empowered the Hispanic community. There was a record number of unemployment before this whole pandemic happened. I mean, this 3 years of success, we cannot have Biden in office.
Yeah, believe me, from your mouth to God's ears. All right, John, our great Lieutenant Governor, what are your thoughts?
Well, let me just say first, thank you for all our first responders and those people at the front line protecting American families and those medical workers. I'm sure on behalf of the president, to all those, especially Latino health workers, thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for the work that you do. Look, President Trump shares our values. And what are those? Those are American values, Kim, right? Hard work, personal responsibilities. He has given us the opportunity over the last 3 years to give us that hand up, not the handout that Sleepy Joe Biden is talking about. And empowering Hispanics, Latinos across this country with good paying jobs, more money in their pockets, giving them the opportunity to be the entrepreneurs that Latinos are. And as one small business owner and somebody who's been in business now for almost 40 years, his policies are working. We support President Trump, and Latinos across this country are going to vote for him in record numbers.
I can't wait. I really think it's going to be true. It's the only choice. It's a smart choice. It's the empowering choice for Latinos to support the president, because Latinos have never done better than under President Trump. And so that's why we need to show up in record numbers, and it can be the game changer in this election. So let's move into the topic on everyone's mind right now. It's the economy. Now, from the beginning, President Trump, he did make a fundamental promise to the American people to make America great again, and in fact he did. And on the economy specifically, President Trump built the greatest economy in the history of the world until the coronavirus artificially interrupted it. Now, despite this unforeseen pandemic occurring, President Trump, he is flat out determined to get this economy up and running again. He is boldly leading our nation through this public health crisis and delivering direct economic relief to American families, to small businesses, to workers, and to Latinos. And now, John, as a Latino owner of a small business yourself, I want you to speak to the people out there listening about how important a program like the Paycheck Protection Program is to Latino small business owners, which really is, at the heart of our economy.
There's no doubt about it. The PPP has been a lifeline. Think about what it means to those small business owners, those entrepreneurs throughout America, the Latinos who are hardworking people who want to create opportunity for their families. And yet with this unprecedented pandemic, the president, through his leadership, and again, Kimberly, because he is a businessman, he understands what it means to make a payroll. He understands what it is to empower people. The PPP has been fantastic. I've talked to people, colleagues of mine throughout New Mexico and across the country who have taken advantage of this great program that is a lifeline. That's going to be able to bridge to get us through this very tough time and returned as the president reopens our country very smartly and properly to ensure that business owners, especially Latino small business owners, which, by the way, as we all know, make up the majority of job creators across this country. So on behalf of small business owners, the PPP is an amazing program. It's been well thought out. Almost $700 billion have been injected into the economy to help small businesses make that lifeline and to hold on until we can get the Trump economy back on track.
Absolutely. And I see in the horizon, positive outcomes for the economy and rebuilding America, like you said, safely. The president is doing this in a smart, measured way to make sure that our Americans remain safe, healthy, and we will be strong again if this is rolled out the right way, and it will happen under President Trump. So Betty, Latinos have been disproportionately affected when you see all the studies and reports by this coronavirus. How critical is it for families to actually receive immediate economic relief, something that President Trump was able to achieve, in providing those stimulus checks to stabilize the situation?
Well, this was very critical, Kimberly, specifically because the Hispanic community was one of the community that was the most affected in this coronavirus pandemic that happened. But the response, I think finally the Hispanics are seeing the response that the president gave, the immediate response. They have realized that he is here to deliver, and he's fast to deliver. Not like the Democrats. If you remember, Nancy Pelosi had to take a break from her vacation to come eat from her vacation eating ice cream, yes, to come and be able to stop a bill from getting approved that would help the economy, that would help us all in general, all Americans, just so Planned Parenthood could get funded with this bill. And that is what we see, the contrast between the Democrats and the Republicans and the president. He has delivered. He has been able to come and say, this is all America. This is for all America. And he was able to provide that stimulus check at a fast pace.
Absolutely. And, Nancy Antoinette, let them eat ice cream. Her party, they're totally out of touch with the American people. And President Trump is in lockstep with the American people, the hardworking men and women that the left, the liberals, the Democrats, just like they've taken the Latino community and Hispanics for granted forever, but no more, because people have to be empowered. They have a choice about who to support and who to vote for on November 3rd. And if you want to get this country back up and running, the question is, who do you feel is better suited to rebuild the American economy? I'll start with you, Matt.
Well, Kim, our president's actions speak far louder than any words coming out of Biden or his constituents. Our president has decreased Latino employment. He's increased our small businesses. He's opened doors for Latinos far greater than any president in the history. Our Latino income is the highest it's ever been under this administration. No one can deny he's given us the tools to find our own success. But Biden hasn't accomplished anything. He's just a yes man. He's been a yes man his entire political career.
And a Joe China man, let's be honest, okay?
Exactly. We know he's in it for himself. We're talking about somebody who can barely keep his eyes open, much less run a country. Right. Biden as a president, would be regressive to America, but especially Latinos.
Biden and Obama, we exported the American dream. They didn't put America first, and that's a huge problem. But then you have somebody, like President Trump, who helped build the greatest economy anywhere in the world, an actual businessman, an entrepreneur, a free market capitalist, somebody who signed the front of the paycheck over and over again, providing jobs, versus somebody that's looking for handouts, whether it's his son Hunter Biden taking 1.5 billion from China. It's unbelievable. These people are totally out of touch, and that's why we've got to focus on this and make sure it goes through and we get this done and get President Trump reelected. I mean, John, you know how important this is.
There's no doubt about it. Think about the results. And that's really the difference between these two men. It's rhetoric from Joe Biden. It's results from President Trump. Over 3 million new jobs for his Latinos across this country. Think about that. 3 million new jobs. Those are 3 million people who, under the failed Obama-Biden policies, were on unemployment or were on government handout. And in this case, the president said, look, let's get America back to work. Americans, Latinos, we're hardworking people. We don't want a handout. We're not interested in the big government spending that all liberals and Democrats led by Joe Biden do. We want to make sure that we have opportunity. That's what made this country great. That's why people still want to come to America and work. Latino families get up every single morning to say, we want to work and be a part of the American dream. President Trump has made promises. He's kept promises. And when you think about it, because of his tax cuts, what that means to Latino families, that's about $1,800 a year additional that they have in their pocket that they can spend on their family. Small businesses can make their investments, and we can continue to grow our economy. That's what this country needs, and that's why President Trump must be reelected.
Absolutely. It is really imperative for the success and future of this country, because we can't look back on November 4th and say, what else could we have done to get the messaging out to where we're doing it right now and connecting with the voters. Betty, you know how important this is. I mean, honestly, it's all Latinos, Hispanics doing better under President Trump, record low unemployment thanks to President Trump, more female Hispanics as well, opening business and as entrepreneurs under President Trump.
I think Matt and the Lieutenant Governor have already said specifically what the president has. We have a president that delivers, that he has been able to promise. He kept his promises that he made. He's been able to keep them. There's no other president that has been able to deliver as much as he can to the Hispanic community. So we can't afford to lose this president.
We cannot, America can't, and we cannot rewrite the history books if this does not happen. We have to get him re-elected. It's really, I think, so important. This is the most important election of our time, and all the polling and studies show that Latinos are the game changer in deciding and determining this election. That's what we have to motivate, get out the vote, get people involved and ready for action. I want to move on to the topic of immigration. This is obviously a hot button topic. Latino Americans are always at the center of this discussion, and they are often mischaracterized grossly by the mainstream media. Now, throughout his time in office, President Trump has been adamant that he wants to put all Americans first. That means securing our borders and ensuring immigration occurs legally and responsibly, right? Under due process of law, so it's fair and equal to everyone. Now, Joe Biden and the Democrats on the other hand, they believe in open borders, which benefit the drug cartels, putting vulnerable families at risk. Now, 1 in 3 women are sexually assaulted as they make their journey from Latin America to the southern border of the United States. Joe Biden's policy of open borders would lead to drug cartels, human trafficking, being in charge of the southern border. They want to relinquish the national security of the United States of America to these drug cartels, these human smugglers and drug traffickers, which is totally unacceptable. So why is President Trump's approach for securing our borders the right decision, in contrast with Joe Biden's dangerous open borders policy? Matt.
Well, Kim, I'm from a small town in South Texas. The security.
You know this. You see it every day.
Exactly. I mean, the security of American citizens is important to all Americans, but especially those that are along the border. We can't allow. And another thing is, we can't allow those that have gained our citizenship legally, to be overshadowed by those that have come across illegally and with no legal process. The protection of our borders, honestly, is fairly simplistic. We need to follow our country's laws, just like other countries have laws. This isn't racism. This isn't hate. This isn't prejudice. This is a president who understands the importance of security and security in our nation for all Americans. And that's you and I. That's to protect us.
Absolutely. Betty.
Well, I can tell you personally, I have my parents live in Mexico, and something that I had worried me for a while was because of the crime that has risen in Mexico. If you go to Mexico, everybody over there will tell you the crime is at its highest. There's so much going on. There has to be a wall. And something that my parents have said, we love President Trump. We love what he's doing. He's securing his people. He's securing his country. The whole wall, it has to happen. We don't want what's happening on this side of the wall, on this side of the area, to go into America. We don't want that to happen. And that's something that was really close to my heart because it was my parents. Like half of my heart is in Mexico. My parents are pastors there. And I wanted to make sure what their thoughts were of securing and what they were thinking. But it is true. I mean, the crime has risen up to the highest in Mexico. There's people coming from all around the world, and they're coming in through Mexico. So there's something that what the president's decision is doing in securing America first is so imperative.
So important. It really is. I'm telling you, it may be one of the biggest issues that we're facing as a country because it all falls apart and crumbles if we don't secure the border. Right, John?
That's absolutely right, Kim. As the former lieutenant governor, I had the opportunity and responsibilities of making sure that our southern border with Mexico, that we were taking the priorities to make sure that we encouraged public safety and also to the issues of national security. We understand that, and nobody understands that better than President Donald Trump. When he talks about protecting our southern border, it's about making sure that families are safe from narco-terrorism, human trafficking. But outside of all the threats, think about the possibilities of what mean having a good working relationship with our southern neighbors, especially Mexico. The president led on the USMCA, the new trade agreement with Mexico, which is going to benefit American workers, bringing those jobs back, being a great border along with our friends from Mexico and throughout. That means economic opportunities for everybody who lives not only along the border, Kim, but across this country. That's leadership, and that's somebody that we can trust, unlike Joe Biden, who wants open borders and is simply kowtowing to the special interest groups simply to get elected.
Yep, nailed it. Absolutely. You know what I love? Everything you said, totally true and so important for people to absorb everything, the comments of all three of you. Our friends in Mexico, we are friends with Mexico. And now under President Trump, we are working better and smarter than ever with the Mexican government to secure the border. That's the type of leadership that President Trump has exhibited. He's been able to sit down at the table, pick up the phone, connect with the leaders that we need to work with in a cooperative fashion. That's why we're able to get USMCA done. That's why we're able to get trade done. That's why we're going to be able to secure the border. And that's why we are building the wall to keep everybody safe, including people trying to come over that feel desperate, that we see these like human and drug traffickers preying on, the cartels, really relying on people's vulnerabilities to say, we will give you a promise of this and that while taking their money and endangering their lives. Thanks to President Trump and working cooperatively with our friends in Mexico, we're going to shut that down. Thank you, everybody. We're going to take a short commercial break, and we'll be right back with more of Latinos for Trump. Stay here, right here on Team Trump Online.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
My administration will take all necessary steps to safeguard our citizens from this threat.
Hysterical xenophobia.
Giving Americans a false sense.
Is it accurate that if these steps had not been put in place, it could have been 2 million people dead here in the United States?
Yes.
No matter how hard they try to stop us, they can't. We built the greatest economy the world has ever seen, and we're going to do it again. Together, we're beating back the invisible enemy.
What the federal government did was a phenomenal accomplishment.
Through it all, the world has witnessed the unyielding resolve of our incredible American people.
Promise made, promise kept.
And I'm fighting for you, and I love doing it with everything that I have. And You know that. With the grace of God, we will win this war, and we will win this war quickly. And we will make America great again.
Welcome back to Latinos for Trump Online. I'm Kimberly Guilfoyle, and I'm joined by Betty Cardenas, Matt Gomez, and John Sanchez. Now, we just heard about how President Trump is delivering economic relief for millions. And we also heard about the stark contrast between President Trump and Joe Biden on immigration, a key issue to consider for the election. Now to talk about an even more dramatic contrast between President Trump and Joe Biden, let's talk about President Trump's pro-life policies and the extreme. President Trump has been the most pro-life president in the history of our incredible country. And since his first day in office, President Trump has taken historic action to protect the sanctity of every single human life. Now, unlike Joe Biden and the radical Democrats who want abortion up until birth, funded by you, the taxpayers, President Trump has urged Congress to pass legislation banning the horrendous practice of late-term abortion. Last year, President Trump took action to end federal research using fetal tissue from abortions, and he has worked to defund Planned Parenthood. This was a campaign promise, a promise made and a promise kept. Betty, I know you have deeply personal pro-life story. Could you please, if you could, share that with us, because it's very powerful, and talk about what President Trump has meant to Americans who stand for the sanctity of life?
Yes. Kimberly, at a very young age, I was faced, I came to a crossroad where I was faced with choosing life or not choosing life, you know, for a baby that I was carrying. And so I was very, very young, went to high school, and my principal at that time, our superintendent actually, he sent me to a counseling center. He said, you know, you need to go to counseling because, I mean, this is very emotional. It's hard when you're young and you're pregnant and you're not married. I was single at the time, so it was really a difficult time. I was a daughter of pastors, so it was something that I had to always hear and go to counseling. And so the superintendent told me I had to go to a counseling center because it was a new program. And if I did go, they could help me with other programs that would come up, and I would need as much help as I needed. So I decided to go. The first red flag was that it was on the other side of town where mostly it was minorities. So when I go into this clinic, I see it was just minorities in this room, and the caseworker comes out, has me fill out this paperwork of my goals, of what I wanted to do, what was my inspiration, what did I want it to be as I grew up. So I wrote down, I had really good grades, I loved school, and so I wrote down what I wanted to be, and I was getting excited of an opportunity. I was seeing opportunity, and so as soon as I was sent back to the physician back in the office, the first thing that as she was reading this, she looked at it, and then she looked at me, and she just tore it into pieces, into little bitty pieces. And I was looking at her, and as I was looking at her, I just felt like, what just happened? I don't know what just happened. And suddenly she starts creating a mountain in between myself and my goals that were in front of me. And that mountain was the baby I was carrying. She says, if you have this mountain, this is not going to be possible, and this won't be possible, and that won't be possible. So in order for that to be possible, get rid of the mountain and just get rid of it. And then we can provide you with grants. We can provide you with programs. We can provide, you will be able to enjoy life and not worry about a baby. You don't even know what it is to have a baby. And my whole dream just fell apart. Like, I didn't know, I was confused. I had never even thought about an abortion. I didn't know I was an abortion clinic. I didn't know what Planned Parenthood meant back then. So as I went home and I told my parents, this is what was brought to me. I never forget my dad grabbing my two hands and putting his two hands, wrapping them around mine, and he said, "You're having you to take responsibility for this baby that you're gonna have." So fast forward a few months later, I had my baby. It took me like a few days to realize it's not a doll. I mean, they cry day and night, and I didn't know what to do. I was young. I went to church, and I remember getting on my knees and just telling the Lord, "Here's my son, because he needs you. I mean, I'm a single mom, and I need your help." And from that, moving forward, fast forward, my son, he's 25 years old already. He graduated from Abilene Christian University. He has a BA in political science. And I am just extremely proud every time in the back of my head when he participated, every event he participated, I could hear the caseworker say, "It is a mistake. It is a mistake." And I'm here to say it is not a mistake. God does not make mistakes. And that's something that I am very pro-life. I believe in life. I believe that the traditions that we have, the traditions and heritage of our Hispanics, of our Hispanic community is so important. My son is now leading an organization because he's so passionate about the Hispanic community. The abuela generation they're passing away, and that abuela generation is so because our traditions and our values, and that's something, if anybody, something I want you to take with you from me today is that if there's anything that's valuable, it's the traditions, it's the value of the Hispanic community, and that's what makes America great. That is what makes America great, and we have to fight. We have to fight for our abuelitas that have given us that heritage, and that have showed us. And I want to thank everybody. I have a photo here of my son that
so cute.
When he graduated.
God bless him. Look at him, so handsome. What a sweetheart.
He graduated because we went through it together, and I'm just so proud that that I decided for life, and that I have this, even though I didn't have a president at that time. We had a president that was opening Planned Parenthood clinics in every corner you can imagine. Yes. Now we have a president that even marches for life. He's a pro-life president, and that is, for always vote for a pro-life president.
Absolutely, and two amazing Supreme Court justices with Gorsuch and Kavanaugh as well. Thank you for sharing that powerful story, but I think it's important, that you do that you manifest, that you share, because so many people can learn and hear from your story, because too many young women out there are getting the wrong information or being indoctrinated, and it's literally costing lives. So thank you for helping to save lives and to preserve the sanctity of life. John, I want to bring you in now. If you could kind of speak to our audience about how far the Democrats and Joe Biden have radically shifted on this issue of abortion, and how many Democrats believe you can actually execute a baby even moments after birth.
Kim, it's a disgrace, a national disgrace, that a major political party in this country would support those radical beliefs. And when we talk about the differences for Latinos who are listening to this, the choice has never been clearer. When you have a party that, like you said, supports abortion up to birth, it's infanticide. We can't stand for that. And if there's only one issue that people are choosing, if you don't make a decision when it comes to tax policy or regulatory or how much money we should spend on the military, if there's one issue that people are listening to and know that where their values are shared or where they're not shared by who will lead this nation, it in fact will be President Trump, the most pro-life president that we've ever had, versus a party led by Joe Biden that is the most radical. We must make that clear choice. And I think that when it comes to President Trump, the decision has never been clearer. This man will stand for the unborn. And among Latinos, those values are critical.
Yeah, this is an issue that both Don Jr. and I, he was just poking his head in here, are very passionate about, because he's really been a fighter on this issue where the Democrats, it's so disgusting. There is no sanctity of life. They believe that literally it's okay to perform, an abortion after a child is born. That is murder. That is unacceptable. And the person that's fighting against that, is President Trump. And it's so important. It's an issue that, we fight about every day to make sure that people understand the importance of what's going on here, the choice that they have. Literally on November 3rd, there is a choice to vote for the sanctity or life or against it if you support Joe Biden. That's about as clear cut as it can be. That is what the choice is between life and condoning murder.
And Kim, if I could just add that when Mayor Pete Buttigieg was a candidate for president, he even said that pro-life Democrats would not be welcome in their party. Think about the difference. That is something that every American should be listening to and making a choice when it comes to who they vote for in November.
It's so true. A big choice, a very, very black and white choice. And we know that, family is obviously extremely important to the Latino community. It is part of the fabric. It's part of our life cells. It's part of who we are, how we're raised, what we believe in. And with that in mind, I want to pose this last question to the entire group. How do Joe Biden and the Democrats expect to win the Latino vote this November when they continuously embrace such anti-family policies like late-term abortion, Matt?
We need to draw the line. A lot of Latinos, most Latinos have a very super Christian background. And, I just can't see how it's feasible to vote for some individuals that are pro-choice in regards to late-term abortion or abortion in general. We got to open our eyes. My father was 15 years old. My mother was 17 years old when I was born. I'm here today because of my mother's stance on abortion. And the president even notified Congress that he'd veto any legislation that weakened pro-life policies or that encouraged any type of destruction of human life. I'm not sure you could be any more pro-life than our president.
Really, I think he is the most pro-life president that we've ever seen in American, political history. It's so incredibly important. It's so incredibly important. That's why I'm asking and imploring all of you out there that are listening to this, please choose life. Choose President Trump. He is the one, the leader sent to us at this time to preserve and to protect life and to protect children and the innocent. And if you can't stand for anything, this is the issue that you should even vote on, a single issue item even to support President Trump. All right, I want to thank you all so much. This has been a fantastic discussion. We're going to take one quick final break, and we'll be right back for more on Latinos for Trump Online.
In 2016, we built an unbeatable operation that changed history. Now, we unveil our next breakthrough. The exclusive Trump 2020 app. This isn't just an app. This is your source for real news, not fake news, straight from the campaign and the president himself. This is your direct line to give input on key campaign issues, your portal to register voters, host MAGA meetups, your scheduler, your application on becoming a Trump team leader. Join millions and get a front row seat to our virtual events. Watch Team Trump every night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Earn points, get rewarded, get the presidential photo. Oh, and did we mention it? This is your personal shopper too? So just to repeat, this isn't just an app. This is your tool to keep America great. Join the army for Trump and download the app today.
President Trump has unapologetically, you are a fierce Second Amendment advocate. Could you actually speak to our audience about how President Trump has stood up for Americans' right to keep and bear arms?
Well, Kim, all American citizens have the right to defend ourselves. This is a primitive right to life. With the Democrats, it's all about immediate shock and awe. Let's ban weapons they know nothing about. But it's okay for places like Planned Parenthood to abort thousands of lives every year. When do we see the hypocrisy in this? Our president has tried to keep our right to bear arms as solidified as much as he can. If we allow Biden into the White House, it's a whole different story. How is this okay? How is it okay that I can't basically that I can't own a tool, whatever tool that may be, to protect my family? That my wife can't own that same tool to protect my family when I'm not home. Americans don't have a gun problem. Americans have an ignorance problem. We need to choose to educate. We need to choose to understand. We need to choose to actively utilize the Second Amendment.
Absolutely.
Ultimately, that's what our country was founded on.
Well, because there's so much misinformation and lies that are put out there by people that don't understand weapons, don't understand guns, and they literally stigmatize and blame the weapon instead of looking at the actual cause behind the violence, etc. So that's part of the advocacy I know that you're so passionate about, Matt. And just want to bring you all in on this. We know that Joe Biden and the Democrats are on the complete other end of the spectrum on this when it comes to protecting the Second Amendment. In fact, they want to literally trample on your Second Amendment rights, and they're coming for your guns, essentially. What's your reaction to Joe Biden embracing Beto O'Rourke's radical gun confiscating policy? Take a look at this clip.
I'm going to guarantee you this is not the last year seeing this guy. You're going to take care of the gun problem with me. You're going to be the one that leads this effort.
Are you, in fact, in favor of gun confiscation?
Yes. Are you proposing taking away their guns, and how would this work?
I am. Exactly how are you going to take away weapons from people who do not want to give them up?
Then that weapon will be taken from them. If they persist, there will be other consequences from law enforcement.
There will be people that don't turn their guns back in. What's the next step for the federal government there?
There have to be consequences. In that case, I think there would be a visit by law enforcement.
To gun owners out there who say, well, a Biden administration means they're going to come for my guns.
Bingo.
That pretty much sums it all up, right? Betty, what do you think about that? I mean, that is their specific policy. They want to confiscate guns.
I mean, the Beto and Biden joining forces, therefore confiscating arms, I would say come and take it, especially here in Texas. That's not going to happen. And, that's for the Hispanic community. This is so important because a lot of them that have fled socialist and communist countries that have been confiscating firearms from them. This is important. It's our right to have and bear arms, and that's something that they're not going to be able to take it. They're not going to be able to keep it. I mean, we're going to have to fight, and we do not want Beto O'Rourke, Biden, him giving advice to Biden on what to do with our firearms. It's just like I said a while ago, it's catastrophic, anything that has to do with Biden.
Oh, absolutely. And John, get your thoughts on this.
Well, it's just another example, Kim, of that Joe Biden will say anything to get elected. Anything.
So true.
And it's not only about trampling on our Second Amendment rights. It's just the fact that Joe Biden will trample on all of our constitutional rights. If you look at cities across this country that have strict gun laws, they lead the nation when it comes to the murder rate. Americans have a constitutional right to be able to protect their families. I'm glad every night that I go to bed that I have a firearm that I can protect my family. And Latinos across this nation who want to secure their families and make sure that they live in safe communities will make sure that they protect their Second Amendment rights and all of our constitutional rights. And the president supports that. He leads. And that's why the choice has never been more clear.
Absolutely. It's so true. I'm proud to be a lifetime member as a woman of the NRA and to my Second Amendment rights. Women have a right to be able to bear arms and to protect themselves and families. We all do. It's in the Constitution, and we will not let them come and take our guns, and we will not let them destroy the Second Amendment. Matt, you're very passionate about this as well.
Yeah, I mean, watching that clip, it's funny. You've got Biden basically marrying Beto and his gun grab mentality. Biden's entire campaign was based on a lack of understanding, and Biden is kind of contemplating bringing Beto in as some type of gun confiscation subject matter expert.
Yes, some gun confiscation czar.
Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous that you can simply call for the removal of your AR-15s, your AK-47s, your sporting rifles, altogether. It's ridiculous to think that a semi-automatic rifle is kind of the forefront of their propaganda. Our country was founded on the American right to freedom. Gun confiscation of any kind, it sets a really dangerous step in the wrong direction.
It's so true. It can't be tolerated.
No, not at all.
Quite simply, that's another issue to vote on November 3rd, because you've seen it. Look at, they're not even hiding it. They're coming for our guns. All right, John, switching gears here to close us out. Can you speak to the prospect of President Trump winning in a blue state like New Mexico this November, and why the Latino vote will be critical in that state?
Well, if anybody remembers when President Trump visited New Mexico last year, the turnout, Kimberly, was unprecedented.
Yeah.
And they had turned away thousands of people. By the way, polling showed that the majority of those people who were trying to get in were not just Republicans, but they were actually Hispanic Democrats. I can speak to the fact that we know how to turn a blue state red. Back in 2010 and 2014, as Lieutenant Governor, we went out there and we won as talking about being conservative, pro-business, common sense leaders who would make New Mexico better to do business and to raise families. We can change how Hispanics vote. Now, the responsibility and the onus is on us to go out there and talk about the president's accomplishments, promises made, promises kept, where he has led us and where he's going to take us, his vision for America, what that means to Latino families throughout this country. It's going to require a tremendous amount of work, but we got to get out there and talk, because we can be the most effective messengers for the president's pro-growth, upward mobility message, and making America not only great, but keeping America great. That's important to Latinos throughout America. And in blue states like New Mexico and other places, when we talk about those values, when we talk about the president's record, we talk about the differences between Joe Biden, the Democrats, and their radical agenda versus what the president stands for, what he's accomplishing, and what he wants to do for this country, whether it be to keeping our military strong, protecting our veterans, to ensuring that he protects life, that his decisions when it comes to judicial appointments, those are making a difference in the lives of everyday Americans, especially Latinos. We can change it. It's going to be a lot of work, and that's why I'm encouraging every Hispanic, every Latino throughout the entire country to get out there, talk to your friends, your neighbors. We are leaders in our communities when we own businesses. Talk about the differences, what it means. When we do that, we're going to ensure that President Trump gets reelected soundly in November. And when we do, that will make sure that the next 4 years and the foundation that he lays, Kim, for the future of our nation, the cornerstone, will be great.
Amazing. So true, and it's very important. That's why we're asking everybody out there to join us, because Latinos and Hispanics have experienced economic emancipation under President Trump, and the left, the liberals, the Democrats, the mainstream media tell Latinos and minorities, well, you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you're not capable enough to make choices for yourself, to be able to earn a living for yourself. You have to be dependent on big government that's going to waste your money because you're not able to do it for yourself and for your family. And that goes against everything that as growing up as a Latina in my household with my mom and my Puerto Rican mother, my Puerto Rican grandparents and cousins, we love the opportunity to provide and to work hard and to get an education and experience the American dream. And President Trump is going to make sure that that is available to all Americans, including the Latinos and Hispanics out there that we love, we want to protect and lift up and empower. And that's what tonight, is about. I want to thank you all for joining us this evening. We need as many Latino and Hispanic patriots as possible to join our fight, to keep America great, and to re-elect President Trump this November. And here's how you can get involved. Download our new groundbreaking Trump 2020 app, and it's now available on Apple and Android. And you can sign up to volunteer, make voter contact phone calls, or register events and earn exclusive prizes. And to stay in contact with us, please text VAMOS to 88022. And if you or your friends, family, or neighbors want to be involved in our fight to re-elect President Donald J. Trump, please visit armyfortrump.com to sign up. Another great way to get involved is by joining the Trump Victory Finance Committee, and it is a nationwide network of volunteer fundraisers or bundlers who play a crucial role in ensuring President Trump and our successful re-election on November 3rd. So join our Trump Victory Finance Committee by visiting donaldjtrump.com/bundle, or you can text bundle to 88022. And as Finance Committee members progress in organizing donations, they reach various fundraising goals and benchmarks that earn them membership status rewards, including invitations to exciting events that I'll be at. It's fun, trust me. And special campaign briefings. And I want to thank you all again for spending your night with us. We're going to see you next time here on Latinos for Trump. Happy Cinco de Mayo.